Welcome back, everybody, to another episode. Tonight's story is one that's more personal to me, because it involves one of my absolute favorite places in the world, the old Ravenswood Asylum. But as always, let me know what you think down in the comments. Do you believe these stories? Are they just strange coincidences? Let me know down in the comments and share this with a friend. Also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below so you get notified every time we upload a new episode. Now, without further ado, let's begin. This is the story of the Hollow Man of Ravenswood Asylum. Ravenswood Asylum was a state mental hospital located in Ravenswood, West Virginia. The asylum had been abandoned since 1956 after a string of unexplained deaths. But on the night of October 14, 1983, for friends Daniel, Melissa, Jake and Laura decided to break into film an adventure on a brand new VHS camera. The halls were freezing, doors groaned on rusty hinges, and the air felt heavy. Suddenly, a tall, unnaturally thin man appeared wearing a torn patient gown. His face had no features at all, just smooth, pale skin. As he drew closer, doors slammed shut on their own, and the rattling of chains echoed from behind them. Melissa saw a duplicate of herself standing next to the Hollow Man, smiling with rows of black teeth. They panicked. Daniel and Laura ran toward the east wing, while Jake and Melissa rushed to the main exit only to find it chained shut from the inside. The last footage from Daniel's camera showed hospital beds, their sheets slowly rising. Then Laura's scream followed by silence. 2 days later, Daniel's body was found with a perfectly smooth face. The camera lay beside him, showing the Hollow Man approaching, before the tape dissolved into static. To this day, locals say if you stand at the asylum gates in October, you'll hear the clinking of chains and a whisper calling your name. But now for the backstory. It was the kind of night where the wind whispered secrets through the trees, and the moon hid its face behind thick, dark clouds, casting an eerie glow over the town of Ravenswood, West Virginia. This wasn't any ordinary night, though. This was the night of October 14th, 1983, a date that would forever be etched in the town's memory. For tonight, four friends dared to venture into the abandoned Ravenswood Asylum, a place where the line between reality and nightmare seemed perilously thin. Ravenswood Asylum, or as the locals called it, Woody's Asylum, was not just a building. It was a repository of sorrow, housing within its decaying walls the echoes of tormented souls. Built in 1874, the asylum had long been a part of the town's history. Over the decades, it bore witness to countless tragedies and horrors that made it one of the most notorious institutions in the country. By the 1950s, the asylum's reputation preceded it. Rumors of inhumane treatment, of experiments gone awry, and of shadows that lingered even in the brightest daylight filled the town's hushed conversations. Finally, in 1956, its doors were shut for good. The townspeople breathed a collective sigh of relief, eager to turn the page on this dark chapter of their history. Yet the asylum remained, a looming specter at the edge of town, silently daring the living to disturb the ghosts within. Daniel, Melissa, Jake, and Laura were no strangers to the macabre. They had heard the chilling tales of the asylum, of the unexplainable occurrences that defied rational explanation. But they weren't scared. They were curious. And curiosity, as they were about to learn, could be a dangerous companion in the realm of the unknown. Armed with a camcorder, a device that was as futuristic than as smartphones are, today they entered the asylum seeking a glimpse of the other side. Little did they know they were about to become part of the very stories they had so casually discussed on nights like these. As they stepped into the asylum, the temperature dropped noticeably. A chill wind seemed to race through the halls, rustling the papers on the floor and making the hanging light bulbs sway eerily. The sound of their own breathing echoed around them, amplifying their every move. In the flickering light of their flashlight, they saw shadows dance on the walls, twisting familiar shapes into grotesque figures that seemed to mock their bravery. The air grew heavy, laden with a suffocating sense of dread that seemed to seep into their bones. Suddenly, a noise broke the silence. It was a shuffling sound, like someone dragging themselves closer. Their blood ran cold as they turned to face the sound. Standing in the dim light was a tall, gaunt man. He was dressed in a soiled white gown that hung loosely on his emaciated frame. His face was the worst part. Where features should have been, there was only a smooth, featureless expanse of pale skin. It was as if someone had taken a sponge and erased the details, leaving behind a mask that mocked humanity. The man took a step towards them, then another. His eyes, two dark pits in the featureless expanse, seemed to bore into them. Terror surged through the group. They turned and fled, crashing through the asylum, desperate to escape the faceless man who seemed to glide effortlessly through the corridors. Behind them, the faceless man's steps grew louder, more determined. The asylum, once silent, now echoed with their screams, mixing with the sound of the man's relentless pursuit. In the ensuing chaos, the group split up. Daniel and Laura ran towards the east wing, their footsteps pounding on the wooden floor, their breaths coming in ragged gasps. Jake and Melissa, meanwhile, bolted for the main exit, their eyes darting around wildly, searching for a way out. The faceless man, silent and swift, pursued them relentlessly. Melissa, her heart hammering against her ribs, fumbled with the chains securing the main gate. Panic swelled within her as she realized the door was locked from the outside. She screamed, her voice echoing the terror in her soul. Trapped, they were trapped inside the asylum with whatever horrors lurked within its decaying walls. As the clock struck midnight, the asylum's shadow deepened. The darkness seemed to press against them, suffocating, heavy. In the distance, they heard the metallic clang of chains dragging, slowly approaching. Hope, which had flickered within them, began to dim. They were running out of time. Then came a horrifying sight. From the corner of her eye, Melissa saw it, a figure emerging from the darkness. It was Laura, or at least what looked like Laura. Except she wasn't alone. Beside her stood the faceless man, his presence a dark silhouette against the faint moonlight seeping through the asylum windows. The man gestured towards the approaching chains, his expression somehow contorted in a cruel mockery of a smile. Suddenly, Daniel's camera, which had been knocked to the ground during their flight, would to life. The screen flickered, displaying a horrifying scene. Hospital beds were shaking, their linen sheets rising slowly, methodically. And then they saw Laura again, her face drained of color, her eyes wide with unspeakable terror as the faceless man loomed over her, his featureless face inches away from hers. And then he lunged. The screen went black, the only sound Laura's scream, echoing their fate. In the chilling tableau that played out on the screen, they saw their impending doom, a grim foreshadowing of what was to come. Paralyzed with fear, they watched helplessly as the faceless man claimed another victim. Time seemed to stop. The asylum held its breath, and they were caught in a horrifying spectacle of fate. When they finally came to their senses, it was too late. The damage was done. The asylum had claimed another soul. Outside, the wind continued to whisper, carrying with it the scent of decaying leaves and the specter of the faceless man. The asylum stood silent, its darkness swallowing the screams of its victims. It was as if the horror of that night had been a figment of their imagination. A terrifying dream that bled into reality and then vanished with the morning light. Days turned into weeks, but the memory of that night refused to fade. The story of the faceless man became a chilling local legend, a tale told in Hushed whispers around crackling fires on nights much like the one when Daniel, Melissa, Jake, and Laura had dared to challenge the shadows of Ravenswood Asylum. The abandoned asylum stood as a grim testament to that fateful night, its walls echoing with the whispers of the dead. The faceless man, a haunting enigma, remained a mystery, a shadowy specter that served as a reminder of the darkness that can lurk in the most unexpected corners of the world.